It's Monday, November 16th, 2015, and this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we're talking about why we don't actually care that much about traditional tech news anymore.
Let's do this.
So, I'm a fan of Civ 5 because I fly a lot, and it's a game that I can play on a laptop for like 8 hours in a row and not even really notice the time went by.
Yeah, that's happened to me Saturday. I don't play Civilization that often. I played Civ 2 a lot back in the day. I bought Civ 3 when it came out, but I didn't play it too much.
Yep. It was pretty much the weak. Well, 4 might have been the weakest one, actually.
Civ 4 I played moderately. Civ 5 I played, a bit. And then I didn't play it for a long time.
But then when you turn it on, you're like, all right, move my settler. And then the next thing you know, it's tanks.
So it sucks when someone reminds you that it exists. It's like, install, start, and my day is lost. Thanks, Saturday.
So I've always wanted to play against humans.
Rest in peace.
But there's problems with that. And the reason I talk about this on a Monday is because Civ 5, the game, either from Civ 5 itself or through Steam, has no real multiplayer capabilities.
Yeah, the multiplayer for all Civ games has always been very poorly implemented,
like it'll
or
just
not
crash,
at all implemented.
Doesn't work that well.
Basically, people who have played Civ multiplayer have always basically played the game, played one turn, saved it, sent the save file to someone else who opened it, played a turn, saved it, sent the save file to someone else who played a turn, and so on. And there was sort of honor system, like you don't mess up. And, obviously if someone sends you a game where I obviously took a whole bunch of turns, it's like, send me a different file, bro. And you can always go back to the person, because everyone's keeping their files, right? So you can always go back to the last person who didn't cheat and get their file and what.
Yeah, but basically I've always wanted to play with people, but it really never works out. Or at best, you hot seat like at someone's house for a while. So the best solution to a technology problem is the one that actually works and someone deploys, no matter how janky it is.
Right, so there is a thing built into Civ 5 called like Pit Boss, which lets you take turns, occasionally.
I have almost gotten that to work.
And there's, you can obviously play in real-time multiplayer, which kind of works, but you're sitting
until
around,
it crashes, and then your game's fucked.
And you're also sitting around waiting for people to take their turn, like, in real time. So everyone's killing more than a Saturday all at once, and that's just like, it's the worst.
So Giant Multiplayer Robot is a website, and it basically solves this problem in the simplest way possible. All it does is you take your turn, and then it says, oh, you took your turn, and you save it, and it automatically uploads it with all the passwords and all the stuff and just passes it to the next person. And it manages all the glue between those. So, like, when it tells me, it pops up on my desktop, like, it's your turn, and I have 48 hours to take my turn. And I click, and it launches Civ 5, and I go and say load game, and there's just one file sitting there, and that file says, GMR, play this one. I click on it, I take my turn, I hit save, and then it pops up and says, hey, looks like you just took a turn, and it lets me submit it.
What if I don't hit save and I instead load after I don't like my turn and take my turn again?
That's all you.
And then I click load and take my turn again, and click load and take my turn again until I like how my turn came out.
So Scott,
and then hit save.
If you have to do that, there aren't random seeds. So if you do an attack, it's gonna go the same fucking way every time. Like,
but I can test out, like, what if my warrior goes first? What if my spearman goes first?
The game tells you what'll happen. Just look at
it tells you approximately what will happen. It'd be like, slight victory. It's like, I wonder if this slight victory is better than that slight
Scott,
victory.
if you need to do that, good luck, have fun, and I hope that GMR doesn't do something to you.
Also, it is Civ 5, right? So I can, like, press enter and then sort of like see, maybe some information will come in.
No, you've never played Hot Seat in Civ, have you?
Yeah, what happens?
So when you're done with your turn, in normal Hot Seat, pretend it's not GMR.
Oh, we're all in the same house.
Yeah, we're all in the same house. So I take my turn, right? I hit done. It pops up. It goes to a blank screen with a dialogue that shows the name of the next player's turn, and they got to type in their fucking password.
Password?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Now, GMR handles that. You don't have to do anything. But if you do normal Hot Seat, when you start the game, you put in a password that's just for your turn.
Whoa. So if you try, you can't see anyone else's turn?
Nope.
Oh.
I guess you can sit there and try to guess my password, and everyone's like, Scott, why do you keep typing?
Now,
it's
I
Civ.
do have the entire save file available. I don't think it's encrypted in any way. And even if it was, I have to be able to decrypt it to load the game. I could inspect that save file and then basically infer, or not even infer, look at all the data by cheating that way.
You may or may not be able to. I have not looked into this. The only thing I know is that a lot
Does
of
it
people...
encrypt different parts of the save file with those passwords?
All I know is that the people who play Civ 5 and care about it, like way beyond us, they use the thing that we're going to use for serious games.
I think I can inspect that save file and figure out like what wonders you're building, or what units you have.
I'm going to look at my save file and see what I can figure out, because I'm playing another game of this, testing it.
Yeah, let's see if you can Google search for like Civ 5 save file structure.
But the reason I bring this anecdote
because
up...
apparently this robot thing must be able to tell when your save file is taking a turn, and it might be doing it with just like the timestamp or this checksum changing.
Yep.
But it could also be doing it by actually looking in the file and seeing like the turn number somewhere or something.
But from a technology standpoint, the correct way to do this is to have a server that manages everything within the game.
Yeah, then I don't have access to the save file. The server could just send me the specific information that's available to me and not any other information.
But the reality is that system is so complicated that they've never been able to, like, Pit Boss and all these things don't work that well. No one's going to spend the time
because no
and
one's
effort.
ever made the Civ game with multiplayer as the first priority. They make a single-player game and they add on some multiplayer. They don't think multiplayer first.
So if there is a solution to your problem that involves writing a dirty script that gets the job done versus engineering the general case, 9 times out of 10, you just want to do the thing that works and move on. Very
also,
rarely...
I'm not good enough to be at Civ to win, even if I was able to cheat in this manner.
Yeah, do you think I am? I'm playing my first game against humans.
But you played a lot of Civ 5 on planes. I haven't
against AIs. Let me tell you,
I can't even beat the AI, though.
Well...
on Prince mode.
God help you. Well, if you get a religion before everyone else and make one, make your god, and then get him to help you.
I did actually. That's the one thing I did well at when I played on Saturday. I still lost though.
I did go in Civ 5. Not to turn this into a Tuesday show. You can't just do everything like in old Civs. You can't be like, I'm just gonna build everything. I'm going to do everything. You got to be like, am I going to push this religion thing right now, or am I going to push science? You only get to pick one.
But if you push religion, then you can use faith to buy stuff. It's like every avenue you go will help you in another avenue, so you don't have to do everything.
Yep.
It's like if you're super religious, you buy everything with your faith, and it doesn't matter that your production is so low because you just bought things with belief. Some spearman, you don't have to build a spearman. Some guy will be his own spearman because he believes in the Skyman.
Yep.
We'll hit him if he doesn't.
Depending on how you make your Skyman. Sometimes I make a science Skyman. You can
sure,
do that.
You can make a science Skyman.
One
or
of them is like, you
can make no Skyman at all and instead use the resources you would have spent on Skyman to get money and buy things with money.
Yeah.
Or just research science and just be better because you have science.
Yeah, but you got all this science. I got a whole bunch of spearmen.
Yeah, great. I have science. I have a musket man.
You've got one musket man.
I'll shoot your spearman in the face.
Yeah, you got one musket man. I got like 40 spearmen.
Who says I have one musket man? I could have, I could just do science and production.
If you also have 40
else.
musket men, then you don't have anything else.
I spent all my money. I'm in super debt.
So
I also ate all the food.
In the news, I got a bunch of little newses that are kind of relevant to tech, that are interesting and vaguely relevant almost to the show. So one, I was going to go on the line here. This is actually kind of important news because up till this point, we can only assume these things. Tim Cook said straight up, Apple is not converging and has no plans to ever converge the MacBook line and the iPad line. They're not going to run iOS, like OS X for real, on the same devices.
All right, so I mean that... how long does that mean? A year out? 2 years?
I would guess that means at least 3 or 4 years.
I don't know.
Unless Tim Cook gets like pushed out or something.
I don't see that as being likely.
But it's interesting because the rationale he gives basically assuages my biggest fears about Apple. My biggest fear was that they were going to merge those and get rid of their desktop like super platforms and just basically make all computers stupid and consumptive. And instead, he has said that they're not going to do that. They're going to make the iPad for, normal fun stuff and regular people, and they're going to keep making the MacBook Pro for actually doing things.
Listen, I got this giant iPad, which I'll geek fight right now, actually, because that's what I was going to do.
Yeah, I'm curious how your experience is. Because I need an iPad, and I'm pretty much 50-50 between what you're holding in your hand right now
and the one that's smaller,
and the iPad Air.
So we just got the iPad Air
2.
at work, so I can tell you about that too.
Because I'm gonna get the Xperia Z5 and go with tiny phone, so I need a tablet now.
Okay, so I used to have the iPad Mini, but it broke. and it broke in a bullshit way. I think like the GPU was fried or something because like the screen wouldn't turn on even though it was otherwise
Just
perfect.
take it to AppleCare and they'll fix it.
No, I didn't pay for AppleCare, and they refused, and no repair place or Apple would do anything for me. Oh, so if anyone wants an iPad mini that works but the screen doesn't turn on, let me know. It's an iPad mini 2 with a Retina screen. It's still like perfectly great. The only problem with that iPad mini, my mistake, not only random breaking for no reason, but it was only 16 gigs of space, which is not enough. If you got an iOS device, you have to get the big storage.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's like you're just gonna fill it up with your apps and then you're fucked, right? And it's bullshit that they even make those. And obviously, it's also bullshit.
Well, because if they didn't make those, the sticker price that people think of when they think of iPad is way higher than what they normally think of.
Right. Also, it's, this is the same for every Apple device. They stiff you. If it's an iOS device, they stiff you on the storage. And if it's a Mac, they stiff you on the RAM. I can go and buy like a 256 gig SD card on Amazon for not a lot of money, like less than $100 probably.
Yep.
The price difference is, 128 gig iPad, and I think like the 32 is like hundreds of dollars. It's like, go fuck yourself, but there's nothing you can do about it because you can't. There's not like it's a slot on here.
Yep.
It's like, and you can't like open it up and put an SD card in there. It's flash memory that's been on the board. You can't. There's no. So you just gotta pay and deal with it for the get ripped off.
Well, like I just looked now to make sure. So. Yeah, when you ask an average person, actually do this. Ask just random people what an iPhone costs. Just ask them and see what they say. Because if you want the biggest, like if you want an iPhone with the most storage.
Okay, yeah. So what's the biggest iPhone 6 you can get?
It's $1,000.
The 128 gig is $1,000?
It's $949.
And they're still selling the 16, right?
So for $750.
So $250 for 116 gigs of flash storage. 116 gigs for $250. You know how much SD card you can get for $250? You might be able to get a terabyte of storage with $250.
But if the average person says, what's an iPhone cost? $1,000, then that iPhone does not become viable anymore. People might end up paying $1,000, but that's because they think it's only going to cost them $700 and something.
Oh, no, the thing is going to cost them $100 and there's some subsidy, but all the carriers stopped doing that.
Yeah, nowadays they think, well, even now, you go on Apple's website to buy one, it doesn't actually show that price in the forefront. It says $37.45 a month.
Well, they do have, for iPhones, they actually just started this really good plan you can get, where you basically lease your iPhone and you pay monthly for it, and you keep paying monthly for it, and then the advantage of this plan is that every single year, not every 2 years, every year you can just give them back your iPhone and get the brand new one. So you can go 6, 6S, 7, 7S, 8, 8S. Every single year, just give them your old one, get a new one, and just keep paying monthly. And you'll always have the newest phone all the time, as opposed to what I'm doing, which is what I've been doing up until now, which is buy the new phone every 2 years, keep it when the S phone comes out, because it's not really that reason, to switch.
Yep.
And I did the math. I'll be saving a slight amount of money doing it the leasing way, and I'll be getting a new phone every year instead of every 2 years. So it's actually not a bad deal.
Meanwhile, what I've been doing is I've only bought
It is a bad deal for the people, which is a lot of people I know, which is who get an iPhone and keep it for more than 2 years and just keep on keeping it until the very last possible second and then get a new one.
Well, what I've been doing, I do that with Android. I basically buy a generation old phone and hold on to it for fucking ever.
That will dip. If you go out and buy like an iPhone 5C, like you will be good for so long.
Yep. Well, no, so my phone now is still an old Nexus 5, and you know what? It's still the best Android phone out, effectively. But
so
I digress.
The giant iPad. It's so my iPad Mini died. So when I bought the giant iPad, I also paid the $100 ripoff for AppleCare. Right? Because if I spend $1,000 in a giant iPad, I fully expect to keep this for many, many moons and to not have to use any other kinds of things, right? So the goal here is I'm not going to use my Lenovo laptop anymore. And you know what? With the giant iPad, I don't really need to use that Lenovo.
You can't play Civ 5 on it. Can you?
No, but I can play Hearthstone on it.
Because I can play Civ 5 on my laptop.
You want to play? You want to play some Tigris and Euphrates on this motherfucker?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm talking about, right? So it's the fact that and the thing is, yeah, it's giant. If you put it next to other iPads, it's big, but it's not that big. It's like at first it seemed really big, but it just keeps feeling smaller and smaller all the time, and now it's just like whatever. But you know what? My giant iPhone 6, which isn't even the 6 Plus, it's just a regular 6. Feels really small now that I have the giant iPad. It's like, oh, tiny phone. Wow, you're really tiny phone. How did I use you for months when you were so tiny?
Meanwhile, so I went to one of those like kind of dodgy phone stores in the city, and I held the Sony Xperia phone in my hand, like the Z5 Compact. Fucker's tiny.
Okay.
He's a little guy.
All right. Other things about the giant iPad. The thing is, it's way, way fast. Like, obviously, you're not doing things with it like you'd be doing with your desktop computer, right? So you're not encoding MP4s and shit. Maybe you can with the right app, but it's like there has absolutely been no situation where it lagged or delayed or skipped frames or like everything. It's just like more than any even desktop computer. Like I'd had desktop computers like a brand new Windows on them, and there's been some things that are slow. You uninstall something, it takes a bit, right? The only thing that slows this thing down is when the internet is slow. Other than that, it's like the speed of everything is just like lightning. There is no app that can tax, even when you go with 2 apps at once and split the screen, you cannot tax the power of this thing with iOS apps. It just cannot be done. It is so strong. And the screen is like, the reason I bought it is because the screen. The resolution is so high, and it delivers on the insane resolution. Like, go find a 4K video on YouTube and full screen it. It plays it like, whatever, I got that. No problem.
All right.
And the screen is just like, this has more pixels than like that monitor times. It's
that's what's really getting me. That I see Scott holding that thing in his hand, and I have a giant fucking like Dell Ultra Sharp in front of me that has way fewer pixels.
Someone put a screenshot online. So look, see these icons? You can fit a screenshot from the iPhone 4 in between these icons.
See, my Windows shit can't do that. I mean, the resolution on my Lenovo is like 11 something, but like it's not a lot, like 13 something. I don't even remember what it is.
Plus, you got the Safari ad blocking, so you don't have any ad issues going on. I paid for YouTube, so I don't even have YouTube ads. Right? It's just like everything's good times. Now, the only thing is the keyboard. They removed the feature that let you split the software keyboard. They really want you to buy their hardware keyboard. I tried it. It's not that great. Also, imagine if I had that hardware keyboard right now. Where the hell would I put it? Like,
That's when you're sitting in a Starbucks with it propped up on something.
Yeah, but it's like, at first I was having trouble with the software keyboard because it's so big and your hands are so far apart. But I got used to it. It just took a little while, and now I'm fine. I tried the pencil in the Apple Store. That's some more rip-off shit. $100 for a piece of plastic? Go fuck yourself. I'm not paying that for $100. But I used the pencil in the Apple Store, and you know what?
Very nice.
The pencil is totally legit. It is so legit, that pencil. If you are the kind of person who wants to draw on here, get that pencil. Now, the only thing with the pencil that I can tell you, not being an artist, is that it's not really pressure sensitive. You can't push harder to get it to do more like you can with the Wacom, but you can lean it. So, like, I was drawing, and then I leaned it. I was trying
to brush changed shape.
Yeah, the brush got bigger as I leaned. So you had to get used to not pushing with a like you do with a Wacom, but leaning to get the adjustable brush size and shape. But it was so responsive, like those things you use like in the grocery store to sign your name.
Yep.
It's like
I just fill all the pixels in because there's only like 100 of them.
Right. Imagine like that technology, like, basically perfected. Like, you can't imagine it being better. It's like you put it on the screen and pixels immediately appear. You start drawing, and it's like you're writing with a pencil. But it's $100, so fuck you.
What did that super well was
I'm waiting for third-party pencils for less than $100.
During a couple rounds ago when like people were really pushing tablet PCs for productivity nonsense, when we were at RIT and I worked for ITS or IC, whatever. I worked for the IT department of RIT. They gave me that huge Dell tablet that was like an inch thick and weighed, and I used that.
I remember those original tablet PCs from 2000.
The pen worked real well on that too. Like I just write, and it was just totally great. It was fucking slow as shit Windows PC with a spinning disk in it. Otherwise, Yeah, I'll probably get an iPad. It's in the horizon.
Yeah, the iPad Air is basically like it's just smaller, than this, but still plenty big enough.
See, I still
And
need a laptop.
It can't pencil.
I still need a laptop.
I thought I did.
I do.
Before I had an iPad.
So other than
what?
games, games, but that's a separate.
Civ 5. Okay, the only game.
Audition. Plugging this fucking mixer into a laptop to record shit.
So there are plenty of...
Is there a FireWire interface for the iPad?
You can plug in just regular microphone and record things.
That's not going to do.
It doesn't have to be a mixer. With
yeah, but that is a use case I have.
Well,
like,
how often are you taking your mixer with the laptop?
Anytime we do what in the other room, I'm going to build a computer and put it in the other room.
I'm just saying, right? It's like if you're, you use your laptop for like watching a video in bed.
I don't use my laptop for that. That's the thing. That's why I'm gonna get an iPad.
You don't need
here's the use cases
TV
now.
in your bedroom if you got this thing. Let me tell you.
My use cases are now tiny phone in my pocket all the time. Don't really look at it that much because I got a smartwatch. iPad, watching videos in bed, doing stuff on an airplane. The only device I take with me to a friend's house or a convention. Laptop. Doing actual work, recording video, editing video, playing Civ 5.
I got Premiere Adobe Clip on here, which is actually quite amazing, as well as YouTube Capture and YouTube Studio. Also, they got this Adobe Prelude Live Logger.
I've used Prelude.
The Live Logger app, right? You turn it on while you're recording your video, and you take your notes, and then you load your video clips with time codes into Prelude, and you load your live logger output into Prelude. And
no, Scott, believe me,
my
ideal workflow is I've got the laptop running Audition, like doing the audio shit when we're recording, and separately I've got the iPad in my hand using Prelude.
But you can use live logger even without the giant iPad. You can use the regular.
Yeah,
iPad.
I'm gonna get the iPad Air 2 probably.
It's basically the same as this, only smaller, only slightly smaller.
Yeah,
and less powerful, but. Oh, and no pencil.
Yeah, I don't need the pencil.
Yeah.
Because I got a Wacom that I plug into my laptop.
Sure.
But no, the iPad Pro is a cool device.
It's okay. I mean, I had an iPad before, and it almost replaced my entire laptop. This one pretty much did. And even if I want to code something, someone made this Git to Go app, which has a text editor in it. So as long as your code is on like GitHub,
So 2 more little newses, kind of just, I want to get these out here because they happened recently. There's a backlog of like interesting tech things that have happened. Mozilla is removing support from Firefox for, quote, complete themes. And I had to look up what the hell that was.
All right.
And it's stupid.
What is this?
So you want to customize like the way Firefox looks?
I mean, I have my Chrome has like a Hatsune Miku theme where like it's not that, it's really subtle. Like the bar is like, cyan and or Hatsune Miku color instead of being gray. And when you make a new tab, the background is like a Miku background.
So Mozilla
but
already...
other than that, it looks the same as regular
Mozilla
Chrome.
has 2 different ways of doing things. They have complete themes and persona themes. Persona themes are like change background colors and frames and things.
Yeah, that's what I have in Chrome.
Heavyweight themes are colors of button sizes and borders and tab placement and basically
you can change every user interface element.
It's the FVWM of fucking with Firefox.
All right, so you basically ruin your you ruin your browser
Ruin
UI.
Firefox for yourself with this thing.
Unless someone has a really fucking good theme.
So Mozilla got rid of it as part of an initiative to have all the features in Firefox either be great or not existent.
Yeah, that's not a great feature. It's like a feature that can be great, but it's like if someone manages to use that feature to make a better UI for Firefox,
that should just be the Firefox
that should just
UI.
be the default UI. Get rid of the existing UI.
But Mozilla's doing so. The initiative, they call it literally the Great or Dead Initiative, and it is great.
It's not the Grateful Dead Initiative.
Yeah. So the headline was that the Firefox community, quote, did not respond well to this piece of news, unquote, and they saw it as, quote, chromifying Firefox. Now, 1, yes, you should chromify Firefox. 2, there's the idea of a community around a browser, like the use of a browser, not the development community. Like, I'm adding features to an open source browser.
Like, your passion is Firefox.
If your passion is being a user of Firefox, you are being left behind by the rest of the world, dude.
It's a sad life.
And I am glad this feature is going away, and the Firefox community can eat a bag of dicks because
imagine it's a very small but vocal minority.
Yes, but the general case here is that 1, if you have an open source project, you probably have things you want to do that you're not doing because you have a vocal set of users passionate about your project in your project's community who aren't really contributing to your code base, but have a lot of opinions about the very specific things you could do just for them. Probably should just ignore them and do the thing you think is right because it's your project. It's open source. If they're that mad, they can fork it, and guess what? They won't. And two, if you are heavily customizing the UIs of things like web browsers, like basic OS stuff, like if you're the kind of person who's trying to use FEWM to make your like ultra custom to you, like you've customized every possible thing in the GUI, that's a bad idea, and you're going to really regret it a few years from now when you can't use normal computers anymore. Like, back away now. The road you're on, it goes nowhere.
Yep.
And one last tiny news. Technology can solve problems because we want police to wear body cameras. That seems like an obvious thing, right? Well, the people who are fighting putting body cameras in place are also the people who are going with the lowest bidder to get body cameras. So, body cameras straight up have 2008 era like Windows malware just in them. Good game.
How does a camera get malware?
So the camera takes a picture like every 30 seconds and records all this with like timestamps and GPS coordinates. So it's just taking like constant data of what the cop's doing when he's on duty. And then I guess if you hit a button like, oh shit, it's go time, it also records audio and video constantly for that period, like a black box. To get the data off, when you get back, you plug the camera with its USB cable into a computer and get the data off. The USB cable thing just has malware in it. It has Conficker from like 2008 calling. And yeah, because there's no quality control and the companies that make these things are pieces of shit who don't know what they're doing, and it all goes to the lowest bidder. So even if technology can solve problems like police brutality, it really can't because the government is still the one actually doing this stuff. And you're going to get a 2008 era like Windows malware on the PC in the secure network at the police station where the minimum wage guy is like plugging all the things in to get the data off at the end of the day. And then all the police footage is probably just going to be like on Pirate Bay somewhere.
Okay.
So yeah.
I don't know how people fuck this up. So.
I know how, because no one who is involved in the project is being paid enough to care. The few people who do care are told the security features have to be cut for budget reasons, and the people who are buying the products, the municipalities, don't actually want body cameras, so they're certainly not going to put money into making them better. And things of the day. Continuing that depressing line of thought, this is a video that the U.S. government put out in 1954.
I've seen this video.
The house in the middle. The moral of this video is you need to be a good housewife and keep your house tidy or your family will die when the nukes go off. Like, literally, that is what this video is saying. It talks about how the flash from the nuclear weapon might set stuff in your house on fire unless you keep, like, tidy tables and dust regularly and keep all the leaves out of your yard.
Yeah, you know what? It's definitely going to set your house on fire from the nuclear fission. And your house is made of wood, so...
Well, no, because in the video...
Is your house a lead castle?
So
if
the
not,
government...
you may have to worry about your house being disintegrated.
So you realize there is a concept of anti-flash white. So like nuclear bombers and like even modern stuff, they paint things that deal with nuclear weapons white because that actually increases, well, I guess decreases the range they can safely operate in during the flash from nuclear weapons.
Okay.
Like, for real, it works.
Sure. Of course, but,
yeah.
You know.
But this video uses that concept to tell housewives to keep their houses tidy to prevent the house from burning at the very edge of a nuclear blast. So, yeah.
Okay. I just looked through my YouTube videos, and there's something I found today because it came up randomly, and I found a YouTube video of it. This is a video of the New York Tokyo Music Festival of 2002.
That's the one we were at, isn't it?
Which is a thing that we were at.
Oh, my God. We were totally at this. We told the story. What the fuck happened to us after it?
We were at this thing, so here's a video of the thing that we were at. A really bad video that someone made.
Can you see us in the video?
I didn't watch the whole thing.
I'm going to watch the video because there was a point where I was at the front of this stage, like jumping up and down.
Yep.
In that mall at the South Street Seaport.
Yep. I think that also shows other parts of the festival that we were not at, but this is the part we were at.
Yup, I remember this. Remember she started crying on stage. Ooh, there's shots of the crowd. DJ Spooky, that we walked out during his set, I think.
Yeah, there was another apparently part where like P-Lander Z, but that wasn't the thing we went to. That was another thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is just interesting from 2002.
Well, I'm the 5th person to like this video. Just now.
I'm probably the 4th.
Wow. That is a blast from the past. We were not even doing Geek Nights.
No.
Like,
pre-Geek Nights.
we were just doing weeaboo stuff in New York City.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the part we weren't at.
In the moment, the book club book for a while has still been the Wheel of Time. I'm still talking about it often.
Okay.
We have a Patreon. Give us money, and we'll continue to make stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to keep trying to do the hard sell. Listen to the show after the credits, and I do stuff just for you, the patrons.
Mm-hmm.
We let the patrons choose the last Thursday episode, and luckily there was some low-hanging fruit in a food episode, but we might do that again at some point in the future. In fact, we will do that again at some point in the future. And otherwise, we're going to be at MagFest. We're probably going to be at PAX South and PAX East. Keep your eye out. Badges and hotels and things for PAX East are coming up in the nearing horizon. PAX East sells out immediately, so keep an eye out for people rumbling that you should F5. I don't think you need to F5 yet, but as soon as I think you should F5, I'll start telling you to F5.
Okay.
If it's too much of a pain in the ass to go to PAX East, honestly, go to PAX South. It's probably easier and cheaper to get to, and you can totally just buy badges, so... And yeah, we kind of don't follow tech news out of personal interest anymore.
Oh, we're going with this show idea?
You agreed to it.
Did I?
Do you have something better? I will happily do a different show.
I don't really, no.
Did you like my other idea?
I forget your other idea.
Anti-customization. I did the news about Mozilla.
I feel like I've talked about that a zillion times already.
We have, but we haven't done a show about it.
Okay.
So someone who's mad about it can link to their friend who's setting up FEWM on their Gentoo and be like, no, stop, do not do. So I do still follow tech news, and so does Scott, but I think the thing is, I am not excited about tech news the way I was like 1998. Like in 1998, like I read Slashdot every fucking day. Like... Hell, 2002, I read Slashdot every day. Like, every article I would read. I was active on Slashdot, like, posting, responding to people. I would, like, read tech blogs. I listened to a bunch of tech podcasts. Like, I used to listen to This Week in Tech before I realized they don't know anything.
I also listened to that for quite a while.
Yeah, in fact, I listened to it, was entertained by it, and learned things from it.
Mm-hmm.
That is not true anymore. Does it even still exist?
I think it does.
I
don't
assume
know.
it
I don't
does.
know what happened to it, though.
Do any of you listen to tech podcasts? Like, I'm really curious.
I don't even know.
Because you're listening to one, I guess. I mean, this is a tech podcast, technically. And I feel like when we first started Geek Nights, you know, our idea was like, we want to be pan-geeks. Like, we talk about all the geekeries. We spent a long time trying to decide, like, what the 4 geekeries were going to be that we were going to cover. And the reason Mondays was tech is because it was just sort of assumed, like, oh, we're doing a nerdy podcast. I guess technology has to be one of the nights. So that was the first one we came up with. Because that was like what we were into. Like we were on Slashdot and stuff. And I feel like I still read Slashdot, but I don't care that there's a new kernels of Linux are coming out. Like, I don't care what distro is popular. I don't need to know about the current state of any distro. Like, as a technologist making money in technology, staying up on like that level of tech news like I used to stay up on in the 2000s, not relevant to my life, not relevant to my job, not relevant to even like my basic like ecosystem knowledge of technology. And I wonder if that's just us because we're old, or if there actually is like a trend away from that.
I feel like, you know, the technology space, right? There would be such, you know, at least it felt like there were huge developments that were happening, you know, and there were. It's like smartphones exist now.
Yeah. Well, remember, like, when we were, like, there was a time when Scott and I, like, Scott had a Pentium 4, and I had
didn't have a Pentium 4.
Yeah.
I never had a Pentium 4.
No, you had what'd you have?
I had an AMD, and then eventually
What'd you have in that BX board? Was it Pentium 3?
That was a Pentium 3.
Yeah, Scott had his Pentium 3, and I had a fucking like Pentium 200 megahertz like nonsense monster, and I bought a K7 because holy shit, AMD has surged past Intel. The K6 was something only nerds used, the K6 III. The K7 you could buy and make a normal computer with, and it was fast. And I remember like I would follow on a day-to-day basis, like, well, not day-to-day, but like week-to-week, like, which chipsets should I get? The AMD, chips. There's the Asus boards, the 8-bit boards.
It wasn't just computer building, right? It's like, go get some old software from those days and, like, compare it to software you have now. There were, like, huge leaps. Like, 1 year, like the first year of college, we wanted to watch some videos we downloaded from, pirated places. They were real media files that were way low res. The next year, someone invented, like, MPEG-4, and people actually had computers powerful enough to encode MPEG-4s, and we were downloading HD videos that were 720p or 1080p MPEG-4s that were a few hundred megs, and our computers are almost powerful enough to decode them, or were powerful enough to decode them and watch them.
I mean, I remember
that was
like
a huge fucking difference.
I remember pirating MP3 codecs to make MP3s on my own computer and being like so utterly dumbstruck that I had this capability.
We went, 1 year we had to download a Counter-Strike update by going to a website and reloading until we can get through and trying a bunch of different websites till we could download this file and then run it. The next year, we were getting automatic updates from Steam.
I bought a zip drive in the year 2000 because I needed that to carry my projects between my home computer and the computers over on the academic side of campus for my classes. The next year, there was a Windows Samba share that was just on the internal RIT network, and I could access everything on a shared folder. The next year after that, USB sticks didn't cost $180.
I mean, I remember there was like a charity, fake gambling night, and the prize was a PS2, which had just come out and was super rare, and people were buying PS2s just because they were also DVD players. And then DVD players were $10.
Remember that bootleg, like, weird import DVD player that I bought?
I remember the really good DVD player that belonged to us.
Oh, yeah, that one. That one's really good.
Completely good.
I'm surprised Scott Johnson gave that to us. I mean.
Yeah, so nice of him.
But what was that thing? I don't remember what brand it was, but, like, I remember doing research, and there was, if you bought a particular off-brand DVD player, opened it up, and like flashed some firmware on it, it became region free, and you could buy it for like $120, which was like half the cost of a DVD player in the open market.
Right. So it's like, things were progressing. I mean, you could check like almost weekly. There would be like tabs in browsers were invented. Like things like that were happening when I was following technology closely, right?
It wasn't just, there's more to it than that. Things were happening, but those were invisible unless you paid attention. Like, if you were not a nerd, like following Slashdot, you never heard of the Phoenix browser and it's like tabs and whatever that bullshit was.
Which became Firebird, became Firefox, right?
Yeah.
I was using that when it was like Phoenix 0.6.
Yeah, like I didn't use it at the
Chrome
time because it would
exist.
crash.
It didn't crash.
Yeah, it did.
Didn't crash for me.
Crashed on my computer.
Right? I mean, but it's like Rim was like, oh, who needs tabs?
I wanted tabs, but Firefox, Phoenix fucking crashed.
Didn't crash for me.
Crashed for me.
Anyway.
Well, it's because you had that Pentium 3 with its rock solid board. I was running
By
this,
that time, the Pentium 3 days were over. We
I
were
was
in
rocking
the Athlon days.
I was rocking a dodgy overclocked AMD K7.
These are the Athlon days by then.
Yeah, that was back when. Yeah, but I think that's the difference between today. Back then, there were two worlds of computing. If you were a nerd and paid attention, there was magic that normal people literally could not access. Like AdBlock. I had AdBlock in high school.
Yep.
Normal people discovered AdBlock this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about that. This year, normal people, like, learned about the possibility of blocking ads, and it was amazing. We knew about that shit in high school because we followed tech news, and there was, like, a rapid progression of features like that. MP3s only existed for nerds for a long time before normal people found out about Napster.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, any modern advance like that is on everyone's computer immediately, whether you're paying attention or not.
And there isn't really things happening that make a drastic difference to the life of an everyday computer person or even a nerdy computer person.
Well, maybe ad block.
That are, I mean, things that are brand new, things that aren't, there's nothing really happening that's that significant. It wasn't like there is a thing called a smartphone now, right? Maybe I remember when that happened. It's like, hey, the Palm Trio is a thing, and I was trying to get one. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, like I remember our friend Steve at RIT, like he was an early adopter of all that stuff. And one day we were driving to a Linux convention through Canada, and he was like, yo, let me do my T-Mobile whatever, and he shared a wireless hotspot with us in the van.
Right.
That was witchcraft back then.
But because we were paying so much attention then, we saw all these things. But now, even though if you pay attention, it's like, so all the things, when those things that we saw in advance became the hot new thing, they weren't the hot new thing to us. And now, even if you do pay attention, well, there must be a hot new thing that's going to not be hot new later. It's like, no, there really isn't. There's not really much going on right now.
Now, I think, so part of it, yeah, is that there are things that are happening, but they're pretty, like, things are just accessible to normal computer users pretty quick after they're invented or implemented. And
I mean, what now is hot new for anybody anywhere?
So multitasking for people with the iPod Pro, like you should see people going crazy about this.
Are they really?
Like the idea of side-by-side apps is blowing the minds of people who don't know.
Whose mind is blown by this?
I found some blogs.
Okay.
Yeah. But the other aspect of this, I think, is that back then, when we were paying attention, Linux on the desktop actually kind of mattered. Like, I was trying to use Linux as my desktop for a long time.
Yeah.
So, like, a Linux kernel update unlocked features for me. Like, hey, you can use a USB DVD player now. That literally could not be done last week.
You had a USB DVD player?
If it existed. But, like, things would appear, like, hardware that did not work in Linux would work in Linux because kernel updates and modules and things happened. Nowadays, Linux on the desktop is dead.
Well, it's dead, but actually it works kind of well if you use it.
It does work kind of well, but it's useless and dead.
Yeah.
So it does not affect my life if anything changes in Linux. Like in the old days, like at RIT, I knew at any given month what distro, if a random person said, hey, what Linux distro should I run on my desktop? I would say Ubuntu or Gentoo or whatever, and I knew the answer. Nowadays, I don't need to know the answer because if someone asks me that, I can Google and the answer might be different, but knowing the answer didn't matter up until that point. Like, it probably isn't Ubuntu because Linux is dead on the desktop. It's probably just run Red Hat or CentOS. Who cares? Maybe Arch. I don't know. Don't run Gentoo, I guess.
But yeah, there's what is happening. I'm trying to think. It's like, okay, this 4K stuff happening, right? But it's like, it's not really happening too much, actually.
It's hardware, too. Like, I knew about the capability, like, what you could do with high-resolution monitors. I saw ideas for that in the 90s, and now I still can't buy a high-resolution monitor and use it with Windows effectively. Yep. Like, even now, I Zebra Storyteller the idea, even if I know about some fancy new monitor, until it comes out on the real normal human market, my foreknowledge buys me nothing.
And even if, like Windows still doesn't support the super high resolution screens, only OS X does. So you don't really have much choice. So I guess I'm getting to this point where what other developments are there? VR? It's like, yeah, that's not really gonna happen. That's like paying attention to like flexible, e-ink displays. Well, it's like they never really happened. Paying attention to that early only helps you if you're developing on it. Sure. But I don't think there's gonna be customers. I think it's, it's definitely coming now. It's just going to be a repeat of the 90s where, like, okay, they'll put in some arcade somewhere. No one's going to buy these things for home. No, only some crazy nerds. The next generation is going to be pretty mainstream. I'm pretty confident in that. As long as it's a thing you have to wear on your face, I don't see it happening. I see it happening with the thing you have to wear on your face one generation from now. The generation now is going to be for nerds, hobbyists, enthusiasts, and people who are paying attention and care about that thing. The next generation, the Oculus 2. It's too optimistic. I think that's too pessimistic. Too optimistic. All right, here's our next show. Let's talk about that. We did. That's all I had to say. I got a lot more to say than that, But my point is just that if you have foreknowledge, like if you pay attention and read like all the tech news every day, now, it really does not buy you much as a technologist compared to how much it bought you 15 years ago.
Knowing about the current state of the art of web browsers got you magic features when we were in college. Now, what? You're gonna run the beta builds of Chrome, whatever. That literally nothing's going to change in your life if you do that. Want to stop right there?
I don't know.
Just end it like on that, like the end, full stop. We've actually done a full show.
All right. That's what I'm saying. There's like not a lot to say. It's like there's a point I have to make. I made it. The end.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geek Nights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
And the patrons for this Geek Nights episode, going right down the list in order of how much money you give us and whatever other criteria. I don't actually know how it sorts beyond that points. Rebecca Dunn, Nicholas Brandow, James David White, Christian Kuntz, Jess, Mechanical Mind, Ryan Perrin, Drew Oppenlander, Rare Lavelle, Brian Cedrone, Rochelle Montanona, Finn Eric Solverod, Rim Eats Poop, Edgar Mendez, William Eisenrose, Chris Midkiff, Chris Knox, Flame Darkfire, Samuel Cordery, Daniel Redmond, Chris Haddad, Doug Snyder, Sean Klein, Chris Reimer, and Thomas Hahn. I have a feeling I pronounce some of those names slightly differently every time I do this because I just go straight down the list in Patreon, and it's actually really hard to read a whole bunch of names in a row. So if I'm wrong about any of your names, you are welcome to send me the correct pronunciation or remind me. And now, it's almost like the Daily Show Moment of Zen, except it's the exact opposite of that. I present to you something super dumb. Yeah.
Ah, here we are. How's this?
Okay. I think I preferred the hot dog bed.
What